Up until this point, all the information I've shown on this channel has been referencing written articles from Watchtower. Today though, that changes. Welcome to JWConcept, and welcome to the first video review on my channel. This one's going to be nice, quick, and simple. Not too long ago, I found a whiteboard animation on the website talking about video games. As something of a gamer myself, I thought I'd give the video a watch, and it lays a pretty nice foundation for witness video media in general. So let's get started. Something that tends to happen with a lot of witness video media is that the first-ish half of the video is actually fairly agreeable and reasonable, and then in the second half, the culty messages really start to show. This video is quite like that. In the first half, the most important point that they make is that playing video games shouldn't take over all other parts of your life.
A great way to pass time. But like most forms of fun, playing video games can take over your life in ways you don't want. For example, at Ephesians 5:15 and 16, the Bible says to make the best use of your time. So if you're up when you should be sleeping, then who's in control? Do you find yourself skipping meals, not doing homework, and generally not taking care of yourself in order to get through endless levels in your game?
They then give you a few examples of what you can do to help curb what they're essentially framing as addiction. Moving your console out of your room and getting away from your technology are the main strategies that they want you to use to stop. Video game addiction is a real and valid thing, but I think something that witness media and people in general tend to forget is that sometimes spending a lot of time gaming isn't due to addiction. It could be a response to either too much free time or bad environmental circumstances. In my personal situation, I used to play a ton of games for those reasons, but admittedly it gets more complicated when you add in the fact that I also wasn't too jazzed about trying to get my life together, mostly due to anxiety. I still contend that I didn't and don't have an addiction. I may have played a lot and done so instead of doing more genuinely productive things, but it wasn't that I felt like I had to, just that I was too scared of my other options. Might be a bit controversial, and it's totally opinionated, so comment if you disagree or agree. I want to see where you stand. Also, as a gamer, I find it funny that at one part they basically tell you to touch grass.
At times, it might be good to take a break. Why not stop playing for a week? Replace gaming with something active. You know, actual exercise. Come to think of it, you might want to do some of that every day.
Due to the fact that this video is only about 3 minutes, that's all there is to say about the first half. Besides, all the controversial shit happens in the second half. To start, let me just say that art does have the ability to influence people. However, like any other art form, the purpose of art is often a bit more complex than just communicating messages, especially with video games. Games can be used as a means to comment on life, impart morals, and influence people, like any other art. But games also give the opportunity for a very unique form of escapism and suspension of disbelief.
Can rob you of your sense of right and wrong. The Bible says that God hates anyone loving violence. The fact is, video games promote lots of things the Bible condemns.
Understanding this is the main issue with the second part of the video. Watchtower seems to think that the presence of something in a video game is the promotion of that idea away from the video game. While it's possible, that's oftentimes not the case. This is the main reason why enjoying video game violence doesn't immediately make you a violent person or someone who enjoys violence. That is because, perhaps more so than any other art form, games ask you to suspend your disbelief. Think about Grand Theft Auto, a game that if taken too seriously, would impart upon every player only the most deplorable sociopathic moral system known to man. Random and joyous acts of violence, easy access to extremely powerful and deadly weaponry, and the idea that if you pay someone money, particularly hookers, you can get a near 100% discount if you kill them right after. GTA is extremely popular. GTA 5 Online is one of the most popular, enduring online games on the planet. Surely, if video games teach their morals, and do so effectively, that our world should be filled with this sort of despicable behavior. And sure, there are more than a few people willing to commit such heinous crimes, especially in the USA. However, we aren't in a society mirrored by GTA. We're in current society. So what's the deal? It's pretty simple. People understand that a video game is fantasy and suspend their disbelief, allowing them to morally justify heinous acts, because it's not real. Most people over the age of 10, I think, should be able to understand this, which is why this statement...
Imagine you were doing that in real life. You know, all that stuff in the game you're playing.
doesn't work. Because at best, a very small portion of the gamer population would ever consider doing anything that's in a game in real life. The closest thing that a gamer would consider doing in real life from a game is have sex, though at this point we know how witnesses think about that. All of this applies to them saying that video games we play reflect our personality. It is something of a meme that people who like certain games, or certain types of games, have certain personalities. But this is more serious. You're trying to say that playing games where you commit deplorable actions could mean that your personality is similarly deplorable. If someone plays violent games, they might be violent. All I really have to say is, my friends and I love ourselves some fighting and FPS games, and I don't think any of us own guns, or are the type to get physical with literally anyone except under very specific special circumstances. Speaking of specific special circumstances, let's talk about the people you meet online.
What about online games that connect you with other players? Do you know who's on the other end? Your game could be putting you with the wrong people.
99% of the time, the people you play games with mean nothing to you. At best, they're chill people you may or may not invest extra time outside of the game to. And at worst, they're awful people you deal with for 1 or 2 games before reporting them and never seeing them again. You don't get to know them enough for their morals to rub off on you, and they care about you about as much as you care about them. The only potential issues might arise if you're a woman, minor, or other minority, in which case you'll likely experience more harassment or toxicity than I'd personally consider normal. There are genuine issues to be found here, but for the most part, the worst things that could happen to anyone, and particularly the group I just mentioned, happens if they, or someone else, decides to get involved outside the game, which, in my experience at least, doesn't happen very frequently. A lot of this changes if you become an internet personality, but for the majority of gamers, I suspect this is a more realistic view of how games go. And on that note,
It's definitely worth taking a look at your gaming habits. The bottom line? Playing video games can be good recreation. But don't let games rob you of your time or your sense of right and wrong. Instead of trying hard to be a winner in a game, use your time and energy to be a winner in real life.
a word, Watchtower, fame. This video makes me kinda sad. I'd love to make a longer, more in-depth video about how witnesses think about video games and why all those beliefs are totally wrong, but most of what was in the whiteboard animation is everything they've talked about on the subject. Watchtower has a problem where they like to repeat the same talking points over long periods of time, but using differing amounts of words to get the same message across. For example, the article "What Should I Know About Electronic Games?" takes 6 minutes for it to be read to you using JW.org's functionality. But this video is only 3 minutes and has almost the exact same content and message as this article. Oh well. Go ahead and comment and like the vid if it behooves you, dislike it if it doesn't, and sub if you want to see more. See you guys next time. Take care.